concept. Once you understand this concept of dimension and measure, discrete and continuous, you will find it a little bit easier in creating visualization in Tableau. Okay, now once you load the data set into Tableau, as you can see, the data set into Tableau, the old version of Tableau, at the top you would have seen dimension, and at the bottom you would have seen measure. But nevertheless, the newer version of Tableau from 2020 upward, what you can see here, measure. Now all the values at this point down to this point are all measures. Now, why all this value from this particular point down are known as the measure value? Normally, they are all dimensions. All these values are measures. From this point downward, they are measures. From this particular line downward, they are measures. Why all this value upward from this line upward are dimension. So take note of that. Now, what is a measure? What is a dimension? Now, a dimension, they are categorical in nature. They are qualitative variable. They are qualitative data. They are qualitative variable. They are descriptive, and they are categorical in nature. For instance, the categories of products. The categories of products. The categories of products. Please, can you hear me? Someone is saying he can barely hear me. Please,
yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Mr. Sean, please check your volume.
You are talking about measures and dimensions.
Yeah, thank you very much. So that means you can hear me. Okay. So now, just like I said earlier on, the dimension, they are categorical in nature. The dimension, they are descriptive values. They are descriptive data. So these are what dimension. Now, as you can see, in this particular part of my dimension, at times it might be numerical. For instance, let's say the registration number of a student. That registration number of a student, or let's say the ID of a product, or the ID of a product, or the other ID of a product. These are all descriptive. That's still part of dimension. Now, the other one we talked about measure. Measure simply means they are aggregate in nature, but let me use a simpler way. What are you measuring? You want to measure the profit, the total profit. You want to know the total sales. You want to know the total expenses. These are what measures. Now, once you understand the dimension, you understand measure. Now, the next thing you need to understand, and you have to understand the discrete and continuous variable. Now, the first step, let's look at this dimension, the way dimension is being displayed. Now, I have a data set here. This is a dimension. So when I click and I drop the dimension here, now you can see it's being displayed in this particular format of a table format. Now, let me pick a measure. Let me pick a measure. Let me pick a measure. Let me place a measure there. And you will see, for instance, like I have the total victim. I place the total victim there. Now you can see it's giving me the aggregate value. It's giving me the total value of the victim in gun violence in the US. While when I click on the measure, the dimension variable, it gives me something in form of a table. So that's how dimension is being displayed on the visualization of the canvas, and that is how the other one measure is being displayed. Now let's talk about discrete and continuous variable. Now a dimension could be discrete, could be continuous. A measure could be discrete, could be continuous. This is very, very important. Now, for instance, I have this particular dimension. I have this particular measure. I place the measure here. You can see we have the aggregate. Now, this measure, let me click on that. You can see this is continuous. If when I click on it, I change it to discrete. Now you can see it's giving me a table-like visualization. Okay, see, it's giving me something like in form of a table. Why? Because it is discrete. What is discrete? Discrete simply means separate. Discrete means distinct, different from others. That's what is distinct. Now, you can see, then when I change this particular visualization that is a measure into a distinct, into a discrete variable, you can see it gave me this. Now, then when I click on this and I change it back to a continuous variable, you can see it gives me the aggregate measures. It talks about continuous. Now, you can see the continuous variable gives me a aggregate. It produces what this. While the discrete variable produces something like a table. So while creating a visualization, you know what you're about to create. You know, are you interested to add an axis or a table? So you know if you are using a discrete or if you are using a continuous variable. Now, that is measure. Now let's look at dimension. I have this particular dimension where I placed it here. Now I have something in form. Now you can see this particular dimension that this is a dimension. Now this is a categorical view. Also, a dimension could be discrete. Also, a dimension could also be continuous, especially when you talk about date. A date is a dimension which could be discrete. A date is a dimension which could be continuous. Now, this is a dimension. Now, you can see, once I click on here, convert to measure, you can see it here, convert to measure. When I drag and drop at this point, you can see it's giving me something like a measure, an aggregate value. Why? Because I converted it from a dimension to a measure. So that is telling that. Now, so you have to understand when you are creating visualization, and you can see the measure here it gives to me is continuous. It gives me an axis. The moment I already converted it to a measure and changed it to discrete, now you can see it gives me in form of what? A table. Because this talks about distinct, it talks about separate. So while creating a visualization, you have to know, do you want to create a visualization in form of a table or in form of a chart? Do you need the X or Y axis? So are you going for a continuous variable? Are you going for discrete variable? So that is very, very important in creating visualization in Tableau. So let me drag and drop there. Let me convert it back to a dimension. Okay. Having said that, now we've talked about the measure and we talked about the measure and the okay. Now let's see measure and a discrete variable. Let me create a measure and a discrete variable. Now, once you measure and a discrete variable, let me click on the total victim. These are the total victims of gun violence in US. So that is an aggregate value. So that is a measure. So one look at a measure and a discrete variable. So I clicked on that. I change it to discrete. Okay. Now I want to look at the location each of those components for. Now you can see the various locations. Now you can see in airport, military zone, religious center, you can see school and more places. Now, I've already converted this particular measure to a discrete variable. So I've already gotten a discrete in form of a table. Now, this is the location, which is a dimension. Now, when you know that a dimension gives me something in form of a table also, then all I need to do, I don't need to place the total value into the label. Then it gives me something in form of a table. So I can delete this off. So we are still looking at the measure as a discrete variable. Now let's see measure as a continuous variable. Now that same particular, let me duplicate this. Now measure as a continuous variable. Now this is a measure, the total victim of gun violence in US. That is a measure, it gives me the aggregate. Now I want to see it as a continuous variable. Let me click on that. It's already a continuous variable. Now let me drag and drop the location where this gun violence occurs in US. It occurs in airport, it occurs in school, it occurs in religious center. Now you can see this giving me a chart, a X and Y axis, unlike the other one I make use of. I used it as a discrete variable. The other one I make use of, I used the measure as a discrete variable, and you can see that a discrete variable, it gave me a table visualization. To like measure visualization, you have to take note of all this. Are you going, is it the distinct, is it a discrete visualization you're trying to create, or is it a continuous visualization you're trying to create? So you have to take note of this. It really helps you to be able to create a chart in Tableau. Also, take note that the measure is always a green pill, while the dimension is normally in blue pill. Now, why do we call it pill? Now, if you look at this, the shape of this is like the shape of a medicine. So it's like a pill, a medicine, that's a drug. So that's why I call it, but it is the blue pill that is for dimension, while the green is for measure. Now, we'll see measure as a continuous variable, and we see the measure as a discrete variable. Now, let's see dimension as a discrete variable. Now, I want to look at dimension as it is a dimension as a discrete variable. So let's do the same thing. Let's duplicate this. Now, let's get the tutu. Drag and drop. Now we have the total value of gun violence, the total sum of gun or victim of gun violence in US. Now we want to talk about the various locations where this gun violence actually occurred in US. Now these are the various locations. Now, if we want to use a dimension, now before doing that, let me try to convert it here. Okay, convert to measure. That means it's already in discrete. It's already a discrete variable. Now you can see giving us a different giving us different value. The gun violence in US, what occurred in airports, what in religious center, and what occurs in school place. Now, dimension as a continuous variable. When I click on this pill, it gives us the same thing as a continuous variable. So now, to do that, we have to use the dates to get dimension as a continuous variable, and we can say we want to sort by year, dimension as a continuous variable. I click on this, apply, and OK. Well, when I do that, this dimension I can now filter by that. So at least we've had a little bit of understanding of dimension and filter. So let's go into what we came, what brought us here. Okay. Let's look at Now, creating visualization in Tableau, let's start with a map. Now, let's look at the various states in US where gun violence occurred in US. So let's start with creating a map visualization in US in Tableau. So let me double click on this. Let me duplicate that. Okay. Now let me clean this off. Now I want to start with the map in how to create a map in Tableau, how to use Tableau to create a map visualization. How to use Tableau to create a map visualization. Okay. How to use Tableau in creating the map visualization. So first and foremost, let's click on show me. So when you go to show me, this is the map. When you place your mouse pointer there, Tableau is going to tell you what you need to be creating a map. Now you can see at the bottom here, Tableau is telling me I need a one geospatial, field. That's a dimension. I also need 0 or more. You're believing? Now, Tableau is telling me that if I want to create a map, I need a one geospatial dimension. I also need 0 or more dimension. I also need 0 or 2 measures. So in other words, if you want to create a map visualization in Tableau, you need a dimension. It is a must. You need a dimension, and that dimension should be a geospatial dimension. In other words, it should be a dimension that gives a location of a place. It should be a dimension that gives the point of the place, that gives the location of the place. Is a must for you to use that when you want to create a map visualization in Tableau. Why the other one you need more of dimension, any other types of dimension, say 0 or more, that means it's not really necessary. Also, you need 0 to 2 measures. You need 0 to 2 measures. So now let's create a map visualization. In this particular Tableau here, I have, let me click on this. Let's see at data sets. Now, this is my data set. Let me try to, that's my data set. Now, let me go to the states where gun violence occurred in the US. Now, I can see the states. I have location here. I have the states where gun violence occurred in the US, like California, Virginia, Colorado, Northern Carolina, and the exact place where the gun violence occurred in the US. So I can now decide, okay, let me try to split the main place it occurs from the states so that I will avoid having issue while creating the map visualization. So in order to do this, I can click on this. Let's go to one. I can decide to duplicate that location, or I go to my data source. When I go to my data source, I locate that particular visualization. I locate the particular visualization. Now, this is the visualization. Okay, this is a visualization. So on this, when I click on this, I click on split. When I click on split, Tableau is going to split that. Going to split that. Now you can see I have Tableau splitted that for me. Now you can see I have the states, and this was the one I did last. I have the states, that state split 2, and I have the, so let me split this so that you can see, you can just pull along. Let me split this. Now I click on this and I click on split. Then when I click on split, I go to the end of my, you can see now that is split into two: location split 1, location split 2. Now, these are the states where the gun violence occurred in US, California, Michigan. So the location split 2. Now, I can decide to rename this particular column, and I can call it, let's say, states. Let's call it state 2 so that we can differentiate it from the other state. Now, I've gotten that state 2. So now, since I've gotten that state, so all I need to do now, let me go to, let me don't click this, let me duplicate it, and I'm going to delete the margin. Now, so I've done that. So now we are using locate, we are looking using state 2. Now you can see the moment I change it to state, it gives me globe with a globe sign, a symbol beside the particular field. Now what I need to do, I need to double click on this. When I double click on that, Tableau gives me the dots of my data set. These are the different places gold dollars for code in US. Now I can click on this because there are some aggregate values, because there are some places that overlap themselves, so I can uncheck that, so I can get the distinct places where the gold dollars for code in US. Now I've gotten that. Now the next thing I need to do is this. Now I'm interested to know the total victims of gun violence in US. I'm interested to know the injured and the total fatality. So I can click on this measurement and I filter that. Now this measure represents my data set. It represents all the data set here on this particular the dimension. So I'm only interested, let me do this. I'm only interested in fatality, how fatal the injury, and how those that were injured and the total victims. So out of all the casualties of gun violence, I'm only interested in those how fatal how fatal their situation is, and how those that were injured and the total victims. I click on OK and I click on that. So when I do like that, I can now go to my now we can click on our states. We are making use of this the state here. That gives us the label for each of that. Then we can get our measure value. We've already identified that. We've already identified the measure. Remember, we picked only 3: fatality, injured, and total victim. So all this shape is giving me the area. Those are the streets where gun violence occurred in US. And you can see the sign here. Now you can see it's the light colored. Now the light color is telling you that the gun violence that occurred in those areas were not that much, but those with a deeper color tells you that the gun violence in those areas is high. Now you can see that map. Those with a light color tells you that the gun violence areas are not high. But the one in this particular area with a very deep color, so you can see the total victim is 604. That the gun violence there is very, very high. So that is that. Now, if I want to now see the number of each, now I can, this is a fatality. I click, I drag, and I drop in this label field. Now, this label field helps you, it displays the name. It can, if it's number, it displays the value. So once I click on this, it gives me the value of fatality. Now, the other one is injured. Out of the quality of gun violence, the injured, I click on that. Of those that were injured. Then the other one is the total victim. I drag and drop. It gives me the number of total victims. Now I can make use of this. I can make use of this toolbar and click expand. I click on that. That's the visualization. Now, I'm going to send you another link for us to continue the class very soon. Will be logged out. So now, we can see I clicked on this. It expands the visualization. I can use this. I click on this, drag. So I can also zoom in. Then I drag, and you can see that. So if I want to color this visualization now, all I need to do is to go to, I click on this, ensure that is here. I click on, and I click on color. When I click on color, I click on that, and I can pick any color I want to pick. Let me pick sunrise, sunset. apply, and OK. Now it's giving me a very dark color, which I don't really like. Let me look at this. Apply. And that is giving me something like yellow. Okay, and OK. Now you can see that is a part how to create a map visualization in Tableau. Now you can see I make use of the state. Also, you can also create a map visualization by using the longitude and latitude. Now you can see on the column axis, on the row as I have longitude and latitude, I can decide to drag and drop the longitude and latitude directly on that particular column axis. So I have my longitude here, I have my latitude here. I could decide to click and I press down my control key and I click on the longitude. Then I go to show me. Then when I click on show me, I click on this particular chart. It's giving me just a dot. Now I'm going to this and I click on the analysis menu and uncheck the aggregate measure, because what Tableau does now, Tableau aggregated the whole location where gun violence occurred in US into one. So I will check that. That will give me the various places where gun violence occurred in US. Now, having done that, so the next thing I need to do, I have to go to the state and click and I drop the state. Now we can see we already got in the state here. Drag and drop the state there. It gives us a state and we follow the same process we followed in the other one. So either you use the longitude and latitude or you use the state directly to create the map visualization in Tableau. So that's how to create a map. Now let's look at how to create a line chart. Let me duplicate this. Okay, let me delete this. Now, to create a line chart in Tableau, now when you click on the show me, this is a line chart. Now you can see I placed my mouse pointer there. Tableau is telling me that this line chart is a continuous variable. So why this other is the type of line chart is a discrete variable. In other words, in creating a line chart in Tableau, it depends on the field you are working on. It depends whether your data set is a discrete or continuous variable. So if you are dealing with a discrete variable, and this is a type of line chart you are going to create that is short. You are dealing with a continuous variable, this is a type of line chart that is going to be displayed. Now you can see the one for the continuous variable. Now Tableau is telling me that you need one date field. You need a date field to create a you need a date field to create a line chart that is continuous in nature. You also need 0 or more dimensions. Now, I've already explained what is dimension. Dimensions are qualitative in nature, they are categorical in nature, they are descriptive in nature. So you need 0 or more dimension. So you might decide not to use any dimension, but you need a measure is a must. It's a must that you must use a measure. So in order to create a line chart that is continuous in nature, you need one date field and you need one measure. It's a must that you need that. Now we look at this particular line chart here. You can see we have the date field, which is year, and we also have a measure year. That helps us to create a line chart. Okay, now so let's come here. So let's click and drop. So since Tableau have told me that what I need to do, I click on the year. I have to locate the year. Now this is the year. I drag and I drop on the column. Now on the column row, which gives me a trend. Now, so the other one is a measure. Now I'm interested in total victim. If I'm interested in total victim, I drag and I drop there on the row, drag and drop on the row. Now you can see it gives me a trend, a continuous variable. Now, very well, I change this to a discrete variable. It will also give me a line chart, but a shorter line chart. Now, because this is a state of our data, that is why we're having all this 1, 1, 1. So tell you that it's very, very important if you are dealing in discrete, in continuous variable or a discrete variable in building visualization in Tableau. So now, Tableau has already told us that to create a line chart, we need one measure and we need one date field too, and they has to be continuous in nature. So that's where I've gotten that. Also, alternatively, I can decide to just click on the year. I locate the year variable, I click on that. Then I press and hold down my Control key and I go to the total victim. Then when I go to the total victim, I go to show me. Then when I go to show me, you can see that the line chart is actually active. I can create a line chart with this. I can create a tree map with this. I can create an area chart with this. I can also create a Gantt chart with this. But I'm interested in the line chart. I click on that. Then when I click on that, Tableau creates the line chart. Now that is the line chart. So I have all that listing here, the location, the year, and the sum in label. Now the location. Now, I want to look at this line chart now I've just created. It tells me that the total victim. Now, out of the casualties of gun violence in West, the total victims, it gives me in form of a trend line. So if I'm interested to know for each location, I can drag whether it's airport or the military zoo, or it occurs in school, or it occurred in religious center. I click and I drop there. Then when I click and drop there, you can see it divided the line into different lines. Now you can see I have various lines, and each line represents a place where gun violence occurred in US. Now you can see, look at the legend there. For airport, it's represented with the blue line, while military is represented with the orange line, with the others is represented with a red line, religious center, and the walkway is represented with a yellow line. So if I want to see the year, I can drag and drop the year on the label. Then when I drag this year and drop it on the label mark, it brings out the year for each. Then now, if I want to now see the total victim, because I'm interested in total victim, I'm not interested in total fatalities now. I'm not interested in total injured. I'm interested in total victim. I can drag and drop total victim on the label. Now it gives me the total victim for each year. So this total victim now for the year, for each year, you can see for 1991, the total victim is 44. For 1987 is 20. So that's how you create a label. Now you can see this particular line chart now. I have year is 2017, total victim is 625. Now, how do we do that in Tableau? Now, ensure that this year, now you can see the year is in label. I drop the year here in label. I'm going to click on this label and I'm going to click here to edit it. Now you can see. So that's how I'm going to edit it. Here is total victim is. So let's click on that and we'll type here is. Now you can see like there's a space here. Total victims is now you can see that if I want to color that, I like this and I give it a color. Let's say this, and we click apply and OK. Now when you click apply and OK, you can see the values there. Okay.